Hey y'all, welcome back to Homemade Simple. If we've not met before, I'm Lori. I'm really glad that you're here today. I'm going to finish out my videos on our freezer and pantry clean out meals that we have been doing for the past couple of weeks. I'm really excited to share some of these meals that we've been having with you, and I hope that you will stay tuned until the very end of the video. I'm going to share with you the very best clean out meal that I have ever made, and it was delicious. It was a big hit with the family. All of these meals ended up being really good and tasty. I spent a little bit, maybe less than $10 for a couple of ingredient items that I needed to bring all of the meals together. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think about this kind of content down in the comments below, and let's get started. Tonight I'm going to make a turkey pot pie. I normally make pot pie with chicken, but I have bought this large turkey breast that I bought to use for like lunch meat, slice it up on my own and use it for lunch meat. I'm really needing to use it up before it goes bad, so I'm just going to chop it, maybe shred it, and put it in with some mixed vegetables and some cream of soup that I'm going to throw together on the stove. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this ready and going. This is going to be a super easy meal that's going to use up several things that have been in the freezer. These mixed vegetables have been in the freezer for quite a while, so it'll be good to use them up. Even though frozen vegetables have a really long, stable lifespan in the freezer, if they are kept at the proper temperature, they still are going to get freezer burn eventually, so I need to go ahead and use these up. I'm going to start by making my own cream of chicken soup. I'm going to start with 2 cups of chicken broth. I'm going to heat it up. While it's heating, I'm going to whisk in 1/2 cup of flour. I'll just keep an eye on this, stirring it frequently until it thickens up. This is a really good way to avoid using those cans of soup. It's very inexpensive, very easy to make, and you almost always are going to have these 2 ingredients on hand, flour and chicken stock. So it's really good. It's a really good exchange. While our cream of chicken is thickening up, I'm going to make our pie crust for our pot pie. I'm gonna start with 1 1/4 cup of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 stick of butter. I'm gonna blend this butter into this flour. It was sitting on my counter. Probably better to have like chilled butter to add, but sometimes I don't do things the right way. So technically you're supposed to use cold butter for pie crust.
That's really yummy.
I'm pretty sure it'll turn out just fine. Okay, that's well blended. Now I've got 1/4 cup of cold ice water. Stir it in, and then I'll start working it just a little with my hands. I'm trying to see if it is too dry. Maybe I need to add a little bit more water. I think this will be just fine. So you have 2 options when you're making pot pie. One, you can put pie crust on the bottom and on the top, but I think what I'm gonna do is just put a topping on my pot pie. That way I'll have to use less, and this amount will do just fine. Okay, I'm just going to roll it out the shape of the baking dish I'm going to cook my pot pie in.
What are you doing, Mommy?
I'm making my pie crust for our supper. So I'm going to set this to the side while I mix up my pot pie ingredients. This is the turkey breast that I was talking about. I have bought it for sandwiches. We had sandwiches last night, and also to make for Lane's little DIY Lunchables. But this is pushing the limits of how long it's going to be good in the refrigerator. So
That's mine, Mommy. That's mine.
I'm going to use half of this tonight, and then I will just freeze the rest of it for later. You can get this at Sam's Club. It is really, really good, and it's like $4, maybe $5 a pound, which if you've bought lunch meat anytime lately, you know that is a really good deal for a substitution for lunch meat, because lunch meat is like, I don't know, is it like $12 or something? It's ridiculous how expensive it is. So this is a good alternative. Okay, I have that all chopped up, so I'm gonna add that to my bowl. This is probably at least a pound, maybe a little bit more, but if you have a pound of meat, that will be plenty. You can use rotisserie chicken, you can use chicken from your freezer, or you can use this. I'm gonna pour in all of the mixed vegetables that I have. You can see these are really past their prime and have some pretty bad freezer burn, but maybe nobody will notice. And then I'm gonna add 1 cup of this cream of chicken soup. I'm gonna stir that in and see how far that goes. I might need to add the rest of it. I definitely need to go ahead and just add this whole batch. The 2 cups of chicken broth and 1/2 cup of flour, that's how much this batch made. I'm gonna season it with some salt and some pepper. If you have potatoes to add to this, that would be a great addition. I don't have any potatoes, so we're just gonna go with whatever's in this mixed vegetable pack. And now it's time to put it into the baking dish. You can spread it around, flatten it out a little, and now we're ready for our pie crust. Oh no, I just broke it.
Mommy, what happened?
I broke it.
Oh.
Okay, we'll add some sort of venting holes.
Mommy, let me see. Oh.
Oopsie.
Mommy, you know how to bake?
I'm gonna bake this at 400 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes until the pie crust is nice and browned. I might have to cover it if you see that it's getting too dark and the bottom is not warmed up yet to the temperature that it needs to be. You can just put a little bit of foil on top of it, and that will prevent it from burning. Okay, our chicken pot pie is all done. Well, actually, it's our turkey pot pie, but it's all done. The crust is nicely browned. It cooked for about 45 minutes or so. And the good thing about this meal is it's just a 1-dish dinner. It's got all of the vegetables and protein that we need, and I didn't have to make any side dishes. Tonight we have a lot going on in the kitchen, so I'm just going to talk to you a second about what we're going to have for supper tonight. I've been craving some Mexican taco something, so I decided I was going to make some taco nachos. I have some tomatoes that I had chopped up. Someone gave them to me, and I chopped them up earlier, put them in the refrigerator, and sealed them with my little mason jar air sealer. If you don't have one of those, they are very useful. I will link one down below, but I love this little thing, and it has kept my tomatoes fresh and ready to use in making some salsa. So I'm gonna use them, make some pico de gallo, and cook up some nachos for the family to enjoy this evening. And that'll be a quick and easy dinner for me to get on the table, even though there's a lot going on in the kitchen. I have 2 pounds of meat here. I feel like everybody might be a little extra hungry today, so I'm just gonna salt the meat while it's cooking. I'm gonna put a little bit of garlic powder, about 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of cumin, and maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. I'll mix all of that in, and then when the meat is done, I will put all of the nachos together. Okay, this is the jar of tomatoes I was telling you about. I just wanted to show you how this little air sealer works. First of all, it's really convenient because you can do wide mouth with that part off, and then you can do regular mouth jars with this part on. So I've already sealed it. You can tell that the air is all out of it. It's not like shelf stable or anything, but the seal is really tight. And I cut these tomatoes it was probably at least 4 days ago, and they still look super fresh. I'm gonna pop this and show you how it works. You just put whatever dry or wet in your mason jar, put the lid on, and then fit this over the lid, and then push the button, and it does all the work. And then when it's got all of the air out, you just push the button again, and it'll tell you how much charge is left. It's easy to recharge. So this thing is pretty neat. If you don't have one, I think you would really like having it. Now I'm going to use these tomatoes to top my nachos and to make some salsa to go on top. Although this is a pantry meal and it's sort of a freezer clean out, I've cleaned out a lot of stuff in my freezer and refrigerator for this meal. I am sort of cheating because I only had 2 small bags of chips left over. I mean, this is literally just the crumbs. So I got another bag of chips for this meal, and also I had Kendall pick up some sour cream because it was not necessary, but I really love sour cream and everybody else does too. So I thought that was a good way to use up these ingredients without making it like sort of a miserable kind of meal. This little bit will really step up the quality and the taste of the meal. So just ahead of time, I'm going to tell you I sort of cheated on this meal. But now I'm going to put the nachos together. I think I'm going to keep some of the chips to eat on the side, just in case we have some extra salsa left over. Okay, now I'm going to put the meat on top of the chips. Like I said, this is way more meat than you need. This is 2 pounds. I really only needed 1. But if I'm gonna clean out the freezer, I might as well clean out the freezer. So this will definitely get eaten. None of this is gonna get wasted. I've got some cheese that I had shredded up a while back. I'm gonna use all of that. This is sharp cheddar. That's what I like. I like to buy sharp cheddar because I sort of feel like since it's the same price, you get a lot more flavor if you get the sharp flavored cheeses instead of the mild, but not everybody in my family agrees with that assessment. Okay, I've drained most of the liquid out of these tomatoes, so I'm just gonna sort of sprinkle them on top. I have some queso that there's really not much left, so I'm gonna pour that on top. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the oven. It's preheated to 350 just in order to melt the cheese. That's really all that this step is for, so maybe 8 minutes. While that's in the oven, I'm going to chop up my ingredients for the salsa. This is pico de gallo, but I don't really like saying that word because I don't feel like I say it right. I feel like if you're from Alabama, you need to just stick with salsa. Okay, I have the liquid that I poured out, so I'm just gonna pour all of the tomatoes. And I think I'll go ahead and add the second jar too, at least some of them. Now I'll add, this is 1 whole onion that I chopped up. And I'm gonna add most of the bunch of cilantro, but I'm gonna keep some for the nachos. I'm gonna add a couple of teaspoons of salt and about a tablespoon of lemon juice.
That's disgusting, Cece.
Get me
Oh no.
Oh boy.
I feel like this is a fail, guys.
Does that not look so yummy?
Yes.
How easy. I think I'm gonna put it back in my jar. Okay, it's all ready. I'm gonna sprinkle some cilantro on some of it. Not everybody likes cilantro, so I'll be nice and keep it on just a part. I also found this guacamole for $1.55, and I thought I couldn't just leave it at Walmart, so I bought it too. So there's another cheap ingredient. Okay, I'm not sure how to get this onto the plate without making a tremendous mess. Presentation is not everything, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna put some salsa on top.
You want to become on it?
Sour cream. Put some sour cream, some guacamole, and some extra cilantro. These nachos are a great way to use up those last little bits of ingredients, and they taste delicious. Okay, it's Sunday afternoon. We just got home from church. Everybody is starving. It's time to eat lunch, but I have to make something. I pulled out some chicken to thaw from the freezer. I also started some green beans cooking while we were gone. So I'm just gonna cook a quick sauteed chicken to go with our green beans. Kelsey made some French bread earlier in the weekend, so we'll have some of that as a side as well. So this is going to be just a quick and easy lunch to throw together on a busy afternoon. I'm sure that there's a ton of ways to improve this. I would love to hear your ideas down in the comments, but I'm going to get started. I'm going to heat up about 2 tablespoons of oil, and while that's heating, I'm also going to put in about 1.5 teaspoons or so of salt, and also sprinkle about 2 teaspoons or so of Italian seasoning. I'm just gonna let that sort of heat up while the skillet heats, and while that's heating, I'm going to cut up the chicken into small pieces. This hasn't all the way thawed, but I'm gonna chop it into small enough chunks that it's thawed enough, it won't be a problem. You can do a whole chicken breast or a whole tenderloin, or however you want to do it. Just seems to go further if you make it into smaller pieces. So that's what I'm gonna do today. Okay, this is doing good. It's sort of starting to brown the Italian seasoning a little. It's the perfect time for me to put in the chicken. When I saute the chicken, I want to try to let it brown without letting it burn. So I'm going to keep a little bit of a check on it and stir it every now and then. We want it to get browned, obviously not burnt, but to have that good brown flavor on it. It'll just have to cook until all of the liquid is gone from the chicken, and then it'll start browning up pretty quickly. Now you can see all of the liquid has been cooked out of the chicken, so this is when it's really going to start browning up. It won't take long for all of the pieces to get a little sauteed, and then it'll be time to eat. This is the leftovers from the French bread Kelsey made. Isn't that pretty? I'll make sure to get the recipe from her and put it down below in case you want to make some, but it's really good and it's also really pretty. We do have some leftovers from a couple of nights ago that we'll also have available to finish out so nobody is hungry, but this was a super quick and easy meal that it's just quick to throw together on a busy Sunday afternoon. It's just one of my simple and easy go-to recipes. Kendall is going to make dinner for us tonight. I have found this flank steak and she's marinating it in, what are you marinating it in?
Just this other, like, it just looked Chinese, so that's what I used it for. And it wasn't really good, so I thought if I could just use it up.
Oh, okay. It was not very good on its own.
No, yeah, it wasn't thick enough.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So she's just gonna pour this in and sort of marinate it for a minute, the steak, in this honey sauce. And then she's gonna put it in the crock pot and make some teriyaki, beef teriyaki.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of rice, you're gonna use some cauliflower rice. She likes that better. Okay, you're putting a little bit of soy sauce just to use up the sauce in there. Sounds like a frugal thing to do. Look at you,
My mommy.
19 and already knowing all the tricks.
That might have been too much, but I needed to use it up anyway. I just let this sit for like 20 minutes.
Okay, now you're gonna make some teriyaki sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Some of this goes in the crock pot.
Yes, I'm gonna just put a little bit on this.
Okay, so the recipe for the teriyaki sauce is 2/3 cup of brown sugar.
And it's 2/3 cup soy sauce. That kind of scares me. Have you ever had teriyaki sauce before?
No. When I go to Chinese, I get sesame chicken.
Teaspoons. Is that a teaspoon?
That's a heaping teaspoon. Yeah, that's pretty good.
1 teaspoon of cornstarch.
Which you got the non-GMO cornstarch. Proud mom moment. Y'all don't pay any attention to our dirty stovetop.
Said stir till it gets thick, or cook till it gets thick.
Your hand's gonna get hot.
Should I move the eye?
No, it's good. Okay, next step, just put it in the bottom of the crock pot. You're gonna cook it on high.
Mm-hmm.
High for probably 3 hours or so. She's gonna add some broccoli, but she's gonna add that about 30 minutes before the flank steak is done. That way the broccoli won't get too mushy.
I don't know if that's good. I feel like it should be a little thicker.
Probably so. I've never had teriyaki sauce, so I don't know.
I've never made it, but
Is
it's
it
kind of
usually
like more
thick?
of like a syrupy consistency.
Oh, okay. Well, you're getting close then. She's gonna pour a little bit on the steak while it's cooking, and then save the rest. Allow it to maybe thicken up a bit as it sits. But either way, it smells really good. How's it looking?
It looks pretty good.
I think it looks really yummy.
Let me stir it, and then I'll add the broccoli. Is that too soupy? I guess that would only help the broccoli cook more, right?
Yeah, no, that's good. And it'll be good on the rice. Technical difficulties hit again. I think it's time for me to start saving up for some more audio equipment, so I'm sorry about that. But Kendall cooked the broccoli in the crock pot for about 30 minutes on high. While that was cooking, she also cooked up the riced cauliflower, and she said that this was best served in a bowl. So she's gonna put the cauliflowered rice on the bottom, then the broccoli and teriyaki beef on top, and then top it with some teriyaki sauce. This meal was very delicious. I also think she did an excellent job at cooking dinner for the whole family. Okay, I've officially gotten to the end of my freezer clean out. Tonight is going to be the last meal for these videos. So I don't know if y'all experience this, but sometimes in my planning phase, I am like, okay, I can do that by hand. I can do that from scratch. I'm not going to buy that ingredient. I can do it with what I have. And then when it's time to do what you've planned to do by scratch, you're tired, grumpy, hungry, and you don't want to do it. So that's sort of where I am. I hope that my grumpiness doesn't come across to you and you become grumpy too, but that's just where I am right now. So tonight we are going to have pork tacos. I don't even know what this is. Al Pastor style pork. I have no idea. Like, I've never heard of this before. But when something is marked down to $2.64 for a pound, 1¼ pound, you buy it and you figure it out. So that's what we're gonna have tonight. I sort of looked it up. It's like pork tacos, giving sort of like street taco vibes. So that's what I'm going for. And the thing that I don't really want to do, but I'm sort of backed myself into a corner that I have to do, is make the tortillas. So I'm going to use my sourdough starter, whip up some tortillas, a little bit of motivator. My daughter the other day said it was like one of her childhood memories of my homemade tortillas. I didn't even remember that we had those very often, but anyway, it sort of made my mama heart feel good that she remembered that. So this will be a nostalgic dinner, even though we've never had it before. So I'm going to saute this pork. It says you should like grill it or something like that, but I looked it up and it said, yeah, it's fine. You can saute it. You do that. So that's what I'm going to do. I have 2 packages. I'm going to get both of those going in a skillet, and then I'm going to start mixing up my dough, my batter for the tortillas. I'm just going to put probably 2 tablespoons of oil in the bottom of my skillet. I'm going to let that heat. This is another very freezer clean out portion of this meal. I had some potatoes that I needed to do something with. This was several months ago. I didn't really know how to make hash browns, but I ended up doing them and realizing that I had sort of done them wrong. So some of them I threw away, but some of them I kept. This one looks like it's pretty good. I'm gonna just sort of cook these in some oil in the iron skillet. Hope for the best. I mean, if they're not good, I can just toss them, but it's better to give them a try than just throw them out with not even trying to use them. So that's what I'm going to do with these potatoes. It definitely doesn't seem like something that should go with the pork tacos, but I said this last week, this is sort of where you just put different combinations together and just do the best you can with what you have. I'm going to salt them really good. Let them get good and brown on the bottom, and then I'll start flipping them. Okay, the oil is hot, so I'm just going to dump these in. I think I'm going to do them one at a time because when I read about it, it said make sure you don't overfill the skillet because you want them to brown, saute, and not just sort of like steam cook. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on them and work on my tortillas. While everything else is cooking on the stove, I'm going to add 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sourdough starter, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of butter. That butter is very soft. It's hot in here and it's been on the counter, so it's not melted, but it's pretty close. Okay, I'm just gonna stir this together. If my sourdough starter is a little too dry, then I'll add a little water. This is just one of those things I'm gonna have to get my hands in to see. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna need any more water. My starter is actually pretty liquidy right now. If you don't have a sourdough starter, no problem. You can just add another cup of flour and add probably 1/4 cup of water, a little at the time, until you get it to the right consistency. You want it to be wet, not like crumbly, but also not sticking to your fingers. So that's what you're looking for. This is exactly what it needs to be. I'm gonna separate this into 8 little balls. And then I'm gonna let them sit for about 5 minutes before we move on to the next step. I've got my griddle heating. I got this thing at the thrift store, and after I got it, actually Chris got it for me, afterwards I have seen so many of them. So if you would like one of these, you very likely can find one at the thrift store. I will link it down below just in case you don't have a thrift store near you. But it's a really neat thing that I think is going to be perfect for these tortillas. It's a grill, or you can flip them over and it's like a panini press, or you can open it all the way. It'll lay all the way flat somehow. And you can have it like a big griddle. So anyway, I'm gonna use this for my tortillas. It is heating. While it finishes heating, I'm going to roll these out into a fairly round, thin shape. Let's see how this goes. Okay, maybe my next ones will do better. It took me a minute to figure out the best way to do the tortillas. I really needed to put some oil on the griddle while they were cooking, so make sure you do that and don't skip that step. The first batch of pork was done, so I'm gonna go ahead and saute the second batch and then continue to work through the tortillas. A lot of times cooking is just going to be you learn as you go. If you don't know how to do something, don't feel so intimidated that it sort of paralyzes you. If you can read a recipe, if you have the bare minimum of basic cooking skills, you can figure it out. I know that you can do it, and it's just sort of like this tortilla recipe experiment that I had. So I didn't really know how it was going to turn out. It ended up turning out really good. This actually was the best meal we have had in a really long time. So don't allow your inexperience or fear of an ingredient to paralyze you from doing the things that you want to do and creating the meals that you want to create. A little bit of trial by error is good for all of us, and it helps you to have a lot more confidence in the kitchen as you go along. It's cooking up really nice. I'm gonna add this other back into it and turn the heat down while we're waiting on everything else to finish. Okay, now let's try to build our taco. I don't really know how to do this appropriately, so I'm just gonna give it a go. I'm gonna put a good helping of this pork because we have a lot. That was like 2.5 pounds, so I'm definitely gonna have plenty left over. It's suggested to top it with salsa and some cilantro, but I have this pico de gallo that I made earlier in the week, and I just feel like sour cream might make this better. So I'm going to top it with some sour cream. We have some of that in the fridge. I don't know how it's going to work, but I feel like it's pretty. I mean, it might not be perfect, but it looks nice anyway. I think the homemade sourdough tortillas should be pretty good, and I think these tacos are going to end up tasting a lot better than I was expecting. Anybody that wants those potatoes can have them too, but I think I'm just going to stick with the salsa being my vegetable. Those pork tacos were really the best clean out meal that I have ever made. I really enjoyed that marinated pork. Give all of these recipes a try. Let me know what you think about them down in the comments. And also, I hope that you will be sure to subscribe to the channel. We have a growing community here, and I know that we can help one another to make more and more frugal, affordable meal plans for our families. The more that we have here, the better. I have a really exciting plan when we hit 25,000 subscribers. I hope that you will share the channel with your friends and family so that we can make it to that milestone, and I will be excited to share that video with you then. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you again next time.